It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This is the Cosmick Voice. Cosmick Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmick Voice. This is Season 7, Episode 23. I am here with my co-host, the Evil Knievel of heavy metal, Chris Natalini.
Oh, I like that. What's going on, man? I like that, bro. I like that new introduction. Took you 7 seasons, but I like it.
And I am Mick Michaels. Welcome back, everyone, to another show. Chris, I worked on that last night. I says, I got to come up with something, and I says, that's
I enjoyed
it.
that. I enjoy that.
You are the Evil Knievel of heavy metal.
I like that. That's amazing.
What have you been up to, buddy? How's it going?
Good, man. Nothing much. Just, I say this every week at the time of recording this. You know, we're moving into warmer weather. Nothing, man. We're just in the middle of, writing and continue writing and, preparing for the next release. I mean, which is, we're far off from the next release, but we're starting. The wheels are moving. We got 2 songs, I think, that are almost completely done. You know, we'll move on to the next one. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Oh, listen, I write all the time. I know what you're saying. I mean, you got some other side projects I heard that are happening. So you're busy. You are the Evil Knievel of heavy metal.
I try, man. I try to stay busy. You know, I'm like that Jim Carrey movie. Just say yes to everything, and hopefully everything works out. But yeah, I got a little new side thing. Well, not new side thing. Kind of an older side thing that we're about to start working on something new, so I'm real excited about that. Yeah, man, things are moving.
Things are moving along. Look, we're on episode 23, season 7. I mean, we're almost out of here.
Yep. We'll be closing up the space station for another season. Yeah.
Another season. See if they renew the lease, because I know rent is getting high.
Everything's getting high.
Everything's getting high.
Everything's expensive.
We still have a few more episodes on the list. I think this may be an extended season.
We keep adding it. We keep adding stuff because things keep happening, and we go, "Oh, we need to talk about this."
Yeah, I know.
We see things, and we go, "Oh, yeah, this. We need to figure out how to work this into the season."
Listen, you think that you're not going to be surprised anymore after all these years, but then you're just dumbfounded when you see this press release come out, and you're like, "What?"
Yeah, I know. I know.
Like, how did I miss that?
Day,
like, what am I not seeing that somebody else is? Or I'm going to say that a lot of people listen to music with their eyes. Yeah. Figure that out. That's very cryptic, but I'm sure, we don't get any issues. That's what I'm saying. There's a male tendency to listen to music with your eyes.
I mean, listen, that is... it's not a lie. I mean, males are visual creatures. I mean, just look at the Sphere in Vegas. As cool as that is. I mean, that's $1 billion thing, but it's all visual, right? I mean, that's just... Yeah. It's just an extension of that. And look at the adult entertainment world. You know, it's predominantly for men. I mean, really, it's just all visual. It is what it is. I mean, even, back in the 80s hair metal days, right? Everybody was concentrating on a look because it was visuals. I mean, I had posters of Lita Ford on my wall. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was a young man enjoying, a beautiful young woman. So, yeah, of course.
Well, listen, I get that, but it's short-lived until the next thing comes along, but there's no substance. And you're absolutely right. By 87, 88, 89, they were signing everything and anything that looked a certain way. It had nothing to do with the sound. And none of those bands are around today, not even in terms of, like, who were they? Oftentimes you'll see stuff posted on Facebook, like, who was this band? Or, oh, remember this band? And, I'm like, nah, I don't.
Yeah.
They had a look, but I couldn't tell you what their sound was. But the bands that had some substance had something, had that hook. Their songs are still timeless, and I guess it's always been like that, but unfortunately now it's so cookie cutter. I guess it's always been cookie cutter. I mean, the next thing is what was already there. Sign as much as you can, so you ride that gravy train. But now, we've talked about this before, there's that specific sound, specific recording techniques, use all the same pre-programmed outboard, inboard, onboard, overboard, whatever sound effects or plug-ins, and it's so formulated that there is no diversity, in my opinion. I'm not the only one that feels that way. There's plenty of it out there, but it's kind of depressing when you think about it, because I think it goes then into what we're going to talk about later in the show. You ask yourself, what's the point? If it's all this and you're not doing it for whatever reason, choice, lack of finances, lack of understanding, lack of ability, then what's the point?
Yeah. And especially now in this day and age, there's so many great all-female metal bands. And what I hate to see online is like all these people just bash them. One, for being a female in a metal band, which I think is completely dumb. And number two, for, maybe the person isn't pretty, quote unquote, by society standards, because everybody has their own opinion of what is, good looking. But like, people just bash some of these bands because they're not attractive or what they believe isn't attractive. And I go, are you kidding me? Like, you guys are judging all female metal bands because of their looks or because they're female? Because listen, not for nothing, some of these female bands are better than their male counterparts. I mean, some of these ladies are just ferocious at what they do, and it just irritates me to no end that these ladies get bashed because they're just women in metal or because they don't fit the model standard of, maybe the 80s. It's completely ridiculous to me.
It is ridiculous. It always was ridiculous. Oh,
of course.
She plays pretty well. Like, why would that be a surprise? Like, I never understood that myself. In the 90s, I had a female singer. I never had an issue with it, though it wasn't in vogue at the time, especially for metal. Evanescence, not really a heavy metal band per se, but they really kind of changed the scope of that for everybody. Yeah. But the flip side of that, the argument of that is, these bands are only being signed because of being female, because they have a look, and some of them have a look over a sound. Butcher Babies received a lot of that criticism over the years. A lot of people said that their music wasn't much substance to begin with. It was just the two front women that actually kept that band going. I don't know much of their music. I actually opened for them, but I don't recall most of their music because it just, to me, reminds me of everything else that sounds just like that. But there was an electrifying presentation of it, of the music. I've seen them at some festivals too, but I do have to say that band was on the road nonstop. They were in like a Wagoneer type thing, pulling a U-Haul. Yeah. They just played and played and played and traveled and played. And you got to give it to a band like that. Male, female, canine, whatever the band is. Any band that takes up the torch and does that, I mean, they're due everything that they get, in my opinion. Because how many bands nowadays don't do that? Because they feel that they're entitled to. I mean, think about it. They didn't have any big hits. I don't know what their album sales were. I realized that they're still around, but they're not an A-tier band. I'm not even sure they're a B-tier band. But they made a name for themselves because of the amount of touring they did. They were at every festival. They were opening up until they were starting to headline on their own small tours. So, again, I'm not a big fan of their music, but whatever the reason why they were signed or brought on, they were able to parlay that into something.
Well, I think the thing with Butcher Babies that I'm not a big fan either, not for any reason. I think that those two ladies, because they don't have two ladies anymore. It's just the one girl now. I think they were super talented. I think what they had was awesome. The music was intense. They did do a lot of touring. I think the only thing that bothers me about them, when they first started, they were practically naked on stage. And as time has gone on and as they've gotten a name, they changed their look. Well, everybody changes their look. I get it. But to me, in my head, I go, you guys were super talented then. like, the talent has only gotten better because they've, gotten, they've been on the road, they've done all these things. I understand you were doing it for visual to draw people in, but you're not dressing like that anymore. So I go, I don't feel like you had to dress like that to begin with. They had the talent. Because then I go, well, do you lose people when you change your look that drastic? Like when you go from being almost naked on stage to now not being naked on stage, do you lose a portion of your crowd because men are visual people? If people buy tickets because they want to see, two awesome ladies like doing their thing, and then you show up and you go, oh, they're not dressed like I expect them to dress, like, does that take people out of their music and listening to them? I don't know that because I wouldn't do that. I like them for who they were. Again, I'm not a huge fan, but I have a bunch of their earlier stuff. I always thought they were good. They were good at what they did. I wouldn't pay to see them headline, but if they were on a tour, I would definitely make sure I was there to see them. I just don't know if they needed to make that change, where to me, they should have just came out dressed like they dress now and just prove their worth by their talent and not their half nakedness. I mean, to me, in my opinion, the girls they're very pretty women, very, very pretty women. And I understand the, sex sells and to bring people in, but when you're trying to prove a point, I don't necessarily know if you need to do that, at least in my head, because you don't do it now and you're just as good. Nothing's changed.
Sophistication doesn't bring in money, right? You need the shock value. And then what happens is everybody then goes, well, I need to be taken more seriously. Yeah, they were creating a buzz, but there was a whole group of people that just didn't take them seriously.
This just could be in my head. This doesn't make it right. But if that's the case, if you go, okay, we're going to do this for shock value, and then you change because you want to be taken more seriously, don't you think there's a portion of people that go, well, now I can't take you seriously because I feel like you roped me in by your look here, and now you're going to change it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I just, you know what I mean? Like, to me, in my head, again, this may not be right, but I go, well, I almost feel like I was not lied to, but, you changed on me, right? Like, I came because I wanted to see the shock value and this way this band looks, and then years later, you change, and I go, well, you're not really doing what you used to be doing. And, I don't know. To me, I go, you didn't have to do that. Like,
well, no, I agree. I agree.
Two women who are super talented screaming their head off under decent metal music, you don't need to prove anything to me. There is no the shock value is these two women screaming their head off, two completely different voices, two completely different looks, one's blonde, one's dark hair, and like that alone draws me in. Like, I don't need you to be half naked, to draw me in. Now, I totally understand I may be a different person, but I go, these girls are talented enough. They didn't have to do what they had to do, in my opinion, because they don't do it anymore, which,
No, I get it. I get it. Well, like case in point, and I've thought about this several times just because I don't have anything else to think about, but take Kiss, for example, right? There could be a true argument that their music was just their music. Was the music as impactful as the look at the time? And the truth is, probably not. Because it was the imagery that created this extra something that created this perception of the music being bigger than what it was. Now, if you're basing it solely on the albums, they themselves even said that there was always an element missing, especially in those first three albums. Whereas opposed to playing live, there was something else. Now, we look back at it now and we go, well, okay, maybe somewhat, I don't know, because there's been so many other things happening since then, like, right, 50 years have passed. But put yourself back in 74, 75, it was a different world.
Yeah.
So that visual definitely added the intrigue. And then by Destroyer, they started creating this other sound, which kind of played along more with their look. But my thought is if they were just a band with not a look, but same music, would they have made that change that people have a tendency to complain about? Oh, Kiss got worse by Dynasty and so on and so forth. So they're strictly talking music. They don't talk about the look, even though they did get more Vegas looking. But it was also 78, 79, 80 when that look was big, right? That big over-the-top type of look. I mean, go back and look at Elton John, look at Rod Stewart, look at what Earth, Wind, and Fire were doing. And so it just kind of made sense. It was that time, right?
Yeah.
But strip that away and go with what people have talked about music-wise. Would they have made that transition without the look? I don't know. A band makes changes over time musically. Some bands make changes look-wise because, one, they're maturing as a band, right? A lot of times they have this, everybody's over the top and, whatever, and then they get a little bit more sophisticated. Then maybe the music gets better and their look kind of reflects it. But they've also talked about, and I remember reading this, that a band, they should age with their audience in a sense that you shouldn't have 60-year-old guys running around in rags and eyeliner and lipstick. It just kind of doesn't work, right? It doesn't fit because we're not doing that. I mean, if we are, I guess you're living a certain lifestyle, but, for the majority. So they always talked about aging your look and sound with your audience for longevity because you want to keep that audience, but at the same time, gain new people in the process. And there's been a lot of bands that have done that. I mean, Aerosmith had done that. They kind of aged with their audience to a certain degree. Yeah. Kiss kind of went back. I mean, once they got their shtick back, they stuck with it because it sold. So they were doing like a review show over and over and over again. Why not? It worked, so you can't complain.
Yeah.
Queensryche kind of did that as well, like over the course of their time. I'm not using that as a derogatory term. I should say they matured with their art and their audience at the same time.
Yeah. The only thing I find different with that is, and I'm not saying you're wrong, the only thing I find different is, unfortunately, women have to try harder, right? Because they're women. And unfortunately, that's just where the society is. So to me, I go, you don't have to change. I mean, obviously, you're going to mature. There's going to be things you're going to change. But to me, I go, I don't feel like you had to start out that way.
You're absolutely right. I agree with you. The reason that you feel that way, and I agree with you, is because we're artists. We're people on the inside.
Well, that's
we're looking at them as artists. We're audience members, but we're also artists. Think about an audience member only. They have perceptions. You're right. They believe this, they do that, so on and so forth. They're the same people that we talked about in some other episodes. If this person isn't in the band, they're not following them anymore. I said, Kiss changed their look, changed their sound, say, by Dynasty. And to me, I like Dynasty. The worst song on Dynasty to me is Dirty Livin'. I can't stand that song. Yeah. I skip over it. I mean, I love Charisma. It's a 1979 song.
Yeah.
It's the era. Yeah, okay, it's not Destroyer, but that was, 4 years prior.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody was doing something different. I mean, look, consider this. Ozzy was somebody who constantly changed his look, but he didn't change who he was, right?
No,
he matured with the times. He matured with his sound. He matured with his audience. Why do you think he's so beloved today? Because he went with his audience.
Yeah.
And he took that seriously. If we take what we've read and it's been interviewed and stuff as truth, it really meant something to him, the connection he had with his audience. Because he struggled with some personal deficiencies, in a sense, about acceptance and feeling good and confidence. So he always revered his audience as such a key component in everything that he did. He never hurt his audience. He spent time, unfortunately, hurting himself, but he's past that.
Right.
Canceled his tours. Yeah, he was in pain, but he could have gotten through it with... I mean, look, Tom Petty, up until the time he passed, and unfortunately he passed because of getting confused with his medication, because he was having such hip issues, but he was pressing on. But Ozzy took it a different way. He goes, I don't want to do that. I want to be able to give my audience what they expect. We've talked about this before. Audience, they're very brutal to artists. Yeah. And in the hard rock, heavy metal, I mean, they're even worse. So it's a tough sell. But as artists, we look past that. we want to see people achieve what they achieve based on their merit, on their skill level. And we know how the industry now runs, that's not the case. I was just saying to somebody last night, if people were brought in strictly with talent, there'd be many more bands that were signed and up at the top. But that isn't the case, is it?
No, it's not. It's not.
It's Russ the Boss.
Take it down.
Johnny D from Britney Fox.
This is Stephen Pearcy from Rat, the Rat Bastard. You're listening to the Cosmick Voice.
You know what, Chris? That brings us right into what we want to talk about on this episode.
It sure does.
And that topic is, are we a dying breed? Is being an artist passé? Are we a dying breed? Is being an artist passé? And long term, is the cost too high, given what we just talked about, and then some? What do you think, bud? Are we a dying breed?
You know, when we had talked about this the other day, you know, to talk about what we were going to do for today's show, I was thinking a lot about it and trying to take my personal struggles out of this. I thought a lot about it, and I think that music to me, is such an important part of my life. Like, I don't really do anything without music being on, whether it's driving up the street to the Wawa, whether it's driving 10 minutes to my work, whether it's getting ready, whether it's if I'm taking a shower, even if I'm doing stuff around the house, I constantly have music on. I guess because I like so much of it and it's just become such a part of my life. Music is so important to me. You know, live music is obviously still so very important to me. But when I think about it, are we a dying breed? I go, I don't necessarily know if music isn't important to people anymore, especially long form music. When I say long form music, I mean full records or even full songs. You know, we live in a TikTok real story lifestyle now that, what would you say before, Mick? Like, people's attention spans, what, 8 seconds, 6 seconds?
Just about.
You know, I look at it and I go, are full songs even being listened to any longer? Or is it just that half a minute? Songs are shorter now, obviously, for radio and for social media. You know, we say it all the time. There's 1 million songs that come out a day, 1 million artists. And I believe that there's so many of them and so many get lost in the shuffle. I go, maybe on paper we're not a dying breed because there's so many of us. But the reality of the situation is there is so many of us because those people that put out a new song on Friday will be gone by next Friday. So to me, I go, even though, again, music is so important to me, I go, yeah, I kind of feel like we are a dying breed. Especially in the world, not necessarily in the world of hard rock heavy metal, but just in the music world in general, because people don't consume music like they used to. You know, not many people are putting out full records or putting out song here, song there, song here. And I mean, that tells you right there that music isn't as important to everybody anymore. Listen, I know there's people out there that love music like I do. I would be interested to talk to 100 younger people and give them a list of, 5 things that go, what is important to you? And I wonder if music would even be on that list. At that age, I would totally tell you music was an important part on my list. So like I said, then it was, now it is, and I'd be willing to bet that a good portion of those younger people, music wouldn't even be in their top 5.
If you sit and think about that, I don't even think people consider music. If at 20, 25, I would still say music. And I'm now in my 50s, and because I'm still involved in it, music would definitely be that top 5. I mean, I'm not putting anything above my family or health or something like that. But in terms of personal functionality, personal balance.
Yeah. I even look at the whole entertainment industry as a whole. I think that after COVID, I think the industry, the entertainment industry took a hard nosedive anyway, whether it was because of celebrities' opinions about COVID and the presidential elections. And since COVID, we became such a
insulated.
A or B. Yes. Yeah. We became such an A and B culture, where there's no gray areas. It's either this or that. I don't even think the entertainment industry is as important anymore, especially now that streaming has become such a thing, because now there's, just like music, there's a million things being put out a day to watch, and really, really good, talented people and product get lost in the shuffle by 30 tons of garbage. Take out the exception that, things are so expensive now. It's hard for people family to go to the movies. I just think the entertainment as a whole is a dying thing. I mean, it'll never go away, but I don't necessarily know how important it is, any longer, as much as it used to be.
I would agree. I mean, 100%, simply because it's all convenience. Entertainment, when you and I were kids, even when our parents were kids, was a luxury. You did it, and it was a big deal. Like, you didn't do it every day.
Right.
I didn't watch movies every day.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good point.
You would watch the Saturday night movie, the Sunday night movie, right? On regular, point, when you only had 3 stations.
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon, you'd watch some old movie from 10, 15 years prior. Now, you can watch a movie every day.
Oh, so me too, bro. Me too.
And
me too.
We didn't watch new shows. We had to wait every week. And then from May to September, there was nothing on. Like, if you remember as a kid, they would not put anything on in the summer because the statistics showed that people didn't watch TV. I don't necessarily believe that was the case, but they had this mentality that everybody was outside because that was our culture. Everybody was on vacation because that was our culture. Nowadays, regular people, right? When I say regular people, I mean, back then there was a classification of people, right? You had lower, middle, upper, and then you had it broken down into 3 pieces that way. It's still kind of like that, but then you've talked about they've eliminated the middle class. Right. They had the redistribution of wealth in the 90s. They said, we got to make things accessible, obtainable, and affordable for all walks of life, because that money all adds up at the end. So they wanted a way to be able to pick everyone's pocket.
Yeah.
And now you have people, they vacation. Listen, people vacationed all the time back then, but it was a small percentage. Now, everybody can vacation whenever they want. The vacation industry is not just limited to May, June, July, and August in this country. It's all the time, 24/7, all year long, baby. Do you see what I'm trying to say to you?
Yeah.
So we have such accessibility now, like nobody wants for it. Music for generations was a refuge because it was an affordable entertainment vehicle for everybody. Radio was free. You turned the radio on. Not everybody had TVs back then. Families only had 1 TVs till the 70s. We had 1 big TV, and then there was a little black and white TV that on Saturday mornings I had to sneak into my room at 6:30 so I could watch Chief Halftown and Captain Noah out here in Philly. But today, you got 3, 4 TVs in the house. They're all geared up with streaming and whatever cable is, or you don't even need that. People watching on their phones, on their computers, on their laptops. So music's accessible. We only had 1 station that played video music. For regular people that didn't have cable back then, you had to wait till Friday night flight to watch videos. Right? Or something like that. You got to see videos once a week. And if you had cable, you watched them all the time. You see what I'm saying? Like how the accessibility changes? And now, I got to wait at the bank line. There's 2 people ahead of me. All right, I'm going to click on YouTube. Oh, I'm watching this. My app takes me here. Like you were left with your thoughts back in 85.
Could be why I listen to music all the time. Ignoring my thoughts.
So, in that regard, like you said, there is so much stuff out there that there's so much stuff that people aren't watching. Or they watch real quick. How many season 1s are there out there? And then you never see anything else.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah. So to go back to the question, is being an artist passé? Well, if you look at statistics, again, over the last 20 years, they've taken the humanities out of high school programs and even college programs. They've consolidated things. And by humanities, I mean the arts, history, and music, and visual art, and audio art, and so on and so forth. Those budgets have been cut drastically. So you don't have kids wanting to be musicians the same way.
No, for sure.
In my opinion. I mean, but statistics show this. You could look it up. So there isn't a need the same way because art's created way differently. It's all digital.
Yeah.
And it's accessible to everybody, even non-artists. I studied to be an artist. I have a degree in it. Big deal. I think I could punt it further than that degree could give me a career. Back in the late 80s, 90s, there was called paste-up artists. Like you could get a job and you were literally cutting things out, drawing things, pasting them together and creating copy, billboards, advertisements. By the time desktop publishing started giving people the option, and that was happening by the late 90s on home computer systems, it was cumbersome and there was limitations, but that became the death of the artist.
Yeah.
Now you can do stuff on your phone. You don't need anything. You got Canva, and Photoshop has apps, and there's this, that, and the other thing. I mean, my God, you could create animations now, and you have AI programs and so on and so forth. All you need to know is the understanding of that application. You don't need any art training whatsoever. You just do it what you like. Right. Now, they will say that there is a difference between the artist that has the eye and somebody who just puts stuff together. And you and I can contest to that because we see posters created for shows by guys with a program. They're like, hey, how much more can you stick on here? Can I even find my band's name? Oh, it's there. There it is. There it is next to the skull and crossbones.
Right.
That kind of thing. And then you have ones that are done a little bit more artistically so that the eye follows. There's a different kind of impact. Not an impact like, hey, where's Waldo? Can I find my band name? That you actually can run contests. Find our band name on this poster and win a free ticket.
You are listening to the Cosmick Voice with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels.
So is being an artist passe? Well, if we put the criteria based on our standards and what we've been accustomed to, yeah, it may be. Because in a sense, like I told you before, during COVID, the number of uploads to Spotify just exploded because they were saying that people who weren't even doing music prior to COVID started writing or creating and releasing music. So there was so much non-traditional artist music being uploaded that it was just pushing traditional artists further and further down. That's why there was record label execs saying that these independent artists that were releasing were taking revenue away from their top selling artists. I don't know how true that was, but what I think that they were saying, even though there was a backhanded comment, is that it was just clouding up everything, right? It was creating more confusion, more choices, more noise, and just taking away some attention, some level of attention. And of course, there's that idea or that philosophy that you have that one big shark and you have millions and millions of schools of little fishes, and everyone fears the big shark. But what the little fishes don't realize is if they all bound together and go for the shark, that, yeah, they're going to lose some of the process, but their sheer numbers will overpower the shark.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's happening here in the music business. Listen, I like being an artist. I like being a traditional artist who also embraces modernization. I just recently did an interview, and that was one of the questions. The interviewer had asked me, do you embrace modern technology? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I go, to not do it would be foolhardy, because why would you make it harder on yourself if you don't use the tools? Like, if I was a house builder and I don't use a hammer to put in nails, but I rather use my fist, though I just seen a Russian guy do that. I'm like, yeah. But, I mean, he's making money from it. I don't know if he's building full houses from it. If I don't use the tools available to me, I won't be efficient. My productivity level will be low. It's just more time consuming, and then I can't spend the time on the creative process that I would need to. So, yeah, I do embrace that. But there are some things that I still like to do Like, I still write lyrics on paper. But that doesn't mean that I don't write them on my phone or type them into my laptop or computer. Well, that would be silly.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily do analog anymore because why would I? The equipment's too big. It's too time-consuming. There's a faultiness to it. Yeah, there's warmth and stuff like that. But they've created a digital replication of it that I could achieve very similar results or pretty close to and still hit my mark. So why wouldn't I embrace that? I do have to say that being an artist like we try to be, or we tend to say that we are, it's never been something that the majority of people embraced in terms of if you're on the outside. You know, how many times did I hear, when you're going to get a real job?
Right.
Or are you still doing that? You know, maybe it's time to grow up. I mean, I've heard this from my family, from my in-laws. I'm glad you're not doing that anymore, type of thing. Like when I was on a hiatus at one point.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. Because people don't understand. And then the other thing is, well, if you're not getting paid, what's the point of doing it? Well, okay, maybe not. I mean, we do a lot of things all day long that we're not paid for, but we do them. We do them because we have to do them. We do them because we want to do them. We do them because we're driven to do them. There's a lot of things.
I also think that when it comes to artists, no matter what it is, not necessarily music, just artists in general, when people have a passion, and that passion makes up every part of their DNA, people don't understand that part of it. To outside people, they go, well, you just don't do it anymore. Or why do you do that if you're not making money? Or people don't understand that it's not a hobby, it's passion that makes us do it. Now, I mean, do some people do it as a hobby? Of course. We know at our age we're not getting rich and famous. We know that. We know we're not going on a world tour. But honestly, it's not about that. Maybe it was when we were in our 20s. But we're still doing it because we're passionate about it. And people don't understand that. People can't distinguish passion and hobby. They look at it as us just doing a hobby, but it's not a hobby. It's a passion. Big, 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 big difference.
Here's the double-edged sword. If you make it and you're a huge success, and that means you're on TV, you got clothing lines, your music's on the radio, so on and so forth, you're in the big magazines, well, all that you did is celebrated. Right. But when you're not celebrated, are you? Just stop doing that. Everybody's got a reason why you shouldn't be doing it because you haven't achieved what they feel is success or what society feels is success. Believe it or not, I've just had this conversation with members of my band who have had these conversations with outsiders that are giving them, why are you still doing it? You should be this, you should be that. And you're trying to explain the industry or the business, depending on how you look at it and where you're at with it, to someone who, one, has never done it or thinks they've done it, but they haven't done it in this capacity, hasn't done anything that this band or artist has achieved, but they think they have the answers. Nothing like the peanut gallery, right? Telling you what you should and shouldn't be doing. Here's the truth. I may rattle some cages here, but what's the difference? If you're a cover band or a tribute band, are you really in the industry? No, I don't think so, because what you're trying to achieve is not what the original artist is trying to achieve. Right. It's nowhere, because it's not about the music. I don't care what you say. It's not about the music, because you don't have to sell the music. You just got to make sure you get the gigs, you're getting paid, and you show up. Yep. Because nowadays, and you and I talked about this privately, it's not even about your set list anymore if you're doing covers or tributes. People are doing obscure stuff today, and it doesn't make a difference. As long as you're doing somebody else's song, you're not taking a chance. You're not taking a chance. Somebody else already did that.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're not necessarily in the same industry as I am or as you are, because my goals are way different.
Yep. Yeah.
My work ethic is way different. The time that I put in is way different. I'm not saying it's any less important, any less stressful. Believe me, I'm sure that if I all of a sudden did a cover band or a tribute band, and what I know now and how I conduct business, these guys would be working 3-4 times a week if I could make it happen. But my goals would be different. My goal wouldn't be trying to chart, writing new material, recording the new material. Like, there's things that the cover bands don't worry about. They're not in the studio. They're not writing new material. They're not worrying about trying to keep the hook in their song, having a melody. What's the backing vocals going to say? Now, it's all written for you already. The palette is infinite. You think about it. Here's the beauty of that, too. You can limit your palette. You play the same set, and then next year you throw in a couple other songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, this is Billy Childs from Brittany Fox, and you're listening to the Cosmick Voice.
So, is being an artist passé? Well, maybe to some degree it is. It's not for everybody. It never was for everybody.
No, that's for sure.
But it's only passé if you feel it's passé. That's my point, right? If you like what you're doing, then do your thing, man. You're going to have it. You're always going to have naysayers. Chris, you know it. You know it, man.
Yeah. Yep.
It doesn't matter if you're 20, 50, 60. You're always going to have your naysayers. Anytime, we talked about this on the show, anytime that you take a chance, you're putting yourself out there. How many people don't?
Yeah.
There's more people that will tell you can't do it than there will be that you can do it.
Yep.
So don't count on it. Don't wait for it.
Yeah.
Don't look for it. Just keep telling yourself, this is what I'm doing. It's not a matter of can't or can. Just do it.
Just do it.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
I learned that from Yoda, baby. I learned that from Yoda. I want to give props to my man Yoda. Do or do not.
Do or do not. I agree with you, man. I totally agree. I think that it's not for everybody, and if it's for you, then that's great. You know, when I was younger, people always used to ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? And everybody said fireman, policeman, doctor, rock star, president. Ask a bunch of kids that now, and I'll bet you none of them are on that list.
No. And you know what? Here's the funny thing. Think about this. Everybody, and I don't care who you are, at one point in your life, whether it was young, it doesn't matter. At one point in your life, you acted as a rock star because your favorite song came on. You sang in the car. You took your hairbrush. It was a microphone. You strummed the air guitar. You did a show in front of your mirror in your living room with your buddies. Everybody has that connection at one point or another, whether you were 6, 7, 10, 12, 25, 35, 55, 60, so on and so forth, to be a rock star. Believe it or not, music is innate to us. It soothes the savage beast. But think about it. At some point or not, and I'm talking more modern society where music has been more readily available to us. Everyone alive today has done that one time or another. They did a little bit of dance, you know what I mean? A little sidestep, little shimmy, whatever.
Yep, absolutely.
Like the Ethiopian shim sham. We've all done it. We've all done it. So get out of here. Everybody wanted to be a rock star at one moment in their life.
Absolutely.
You got anything else you want to add, buddy?
No, man, that's it. I said all my piece.
All right, if you like that episode, check out some of our other episodes at www.thecosmickvoice.com. Step into the Cosmickverse, be the biggest rock star you can, and fill that void. Thanks so much for listening. This is the Cosmick Voice. If you have a question, a topic idea, or something you want us to address, just contact us through our Facebook page at The Cosmick Voice. You can listen to The Cosmick Voice at Spotify, Breaker, Apple, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, and at thecosmickview.com. Check us out on Facebook at The Cosmick Voice.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, Mick and I would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And we hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future episodes of The Cosmick Voice. And you can get in touch with us through thecosmickvoice.com and, of course, all of the Cosmick Voice social medias. Take care and be safe.
You're listening to The Cosmick Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business.